Hi, my name is Michael and I'm the Shop Geek, and on this episode we're going to give this old barbecue a tune-up. It's spent a couple of winters outside and unfortunately the burners have started to rust. We're getting really uneven heat on the barbecue surface. So for this repair, you're going to need a screwdriver, scissors for opening packaging, wire cutters, and a pair of pliers. Also, you'll need a replacement burner for the barbecue. This barbecue has a 2-valve model, so I need one with 2 inlet valves in order to spread the flame. Let's get started. Obviously for safety we should remove the propane tank before we do anything else. Make sure the valve is in the off position. Loosen any retaining brackets that are on the barbecue. And then unscrew the main valve. Then it's safe to remove the tank. Okay, I've spread some newspaper on here so I don't make everything dirty. And we're just going to pull the grills out first. You'll notice I've cheated and I've already stacked the flame bricks on top of this grill. Now come on a little closer and I'll show you what's going on the inside. That rack is still in good shape. We replaced that last year, so that will hold the flame bricks. But as you can see, this burner is starting to rust through. We're getting some cracking here, and that's actually parts of the burner that are just peeling off of my hands. In order to remove the old burner, you first need to detach these wires. These wires are basically to retain these pipes from sliding off. Your gas enters from the tank up this line, split through the 2 valves, and then flows into your burners. So removing these pieces will allow you to slide those pipes off. Like that. Once we've undone the wires underneath, we can lift this out on an angle like this. Go. Fresh parts. Alright, the best thing you can do for yourself is read the instructions that come with the new burner, because each one of these is slightly different depending on the parts that they include. This particular model has 2 different mounting positions for the venturi tubes. That's a venturi tube. That'll either go up front or center mount. Now, the old burner was up front, so you're going to replicate that on the new one. But follow the instructions to do everything in order. So, step number 1 is to add the mounting feet into their slots on the burner. We're going to tighten those down with the pliers. Don't crush the metal, this is just enough to make them snug. 4 feet. Step number 2 is to attach to this screw the retaining spring. Now we took a wire off in the old model. As I say, they're all slightly different, so this one's going to take a spring. We're going to attach that with our screwdriver. Now we've already decided where we are mounting these, and the gaskets that come with these are very important. This stops the gas from leaking out around the venturi tube. If you get a flame out the middle of your burner, you're not going to get a very effective cooking surface. So, place those in the front. A word of caution, by the way, these are fairly delicate even though they're corrugated metal. If you bend this too far, if you tear it or you crack it or you put a kink in the tube, these are useless. You'll have to throw it out and start over. If there's any split in this anywhere, what will happen is you'll get a flame under the barbecue instead of in the barbecue where you want it. So be very careful with these as you're handling them. And these come with some nice long black screws for attachment. So I'm going to mount these like so. Notice I'm not tightening this all the way. I'd like to get both screws in first. Make sure that I'm well adjusted. Which is about as well adjusted as I ever get. Huh. Well, that'll be a trick. I just stripped the thread off the screw. Okay, you might run into this too. These screws strip fairly easily, so when you find one that works and actually bites into the metal, use it to start all of the pilot holes first. That way if ones strip out a little bit, they'll still have a thread that they can bite into. So I'll put this one in now. This is one I stripped when we started. And now because I've started the hole, it'll actually bite and I can get the tube mounted. There we go. Now of course you're probably wondering, what do I do with the other two holes? That's why they provide these covering plates. So, same thing, these will go over one of the white gaskets and cover the remaining two holes. Our next step is to place the height adjusting feet, if you would, onto the bottom of these. Okay. That provides us with nuts for the bolts that we can set at different heights to raise and lower the burner. So, I'm going to thread one onto each bolt now. And I'm going to set them all to about the same height. And I'm guessing where the height of the old burner was. You don't have to be 100% accurate, but it helps. Okay, we've got all our parts on the burner ready to go. We've added the mounting post as well. It's something I neglected to tell you about earlier. And now I'm going to do a test fit to make sure everything slides down into the barbecue properly. So, make sure that you guide the venturi tubes carefully through the burner holes, like this. And again, don't damage these. Make sure everything is sitting on the feet. Perfect. And nicely centered. Good. You can see the mounting post here. We're going to add the retaining bracket to that momentarily, but first we're going to bend the venturi tubes into position. So, very gently I'm going to extend this a little. And you want this tube to be directly over the gas valve here, in a straight line, not at an angle, but it's got to meet that straight. So I'm going to stretch this out just a little more, stretch this out the same, and then bend these up into position like so. Notice this is a gentle curve and there are no kinks in the hose. Double check for that. Double check the position of your burner as you go. And everything is looking good there. Okay, so I'm going to mount this retaining bracket. And then I'm going to adjust those venturi tubes again. We've taken the assembly out and moved this mounting post over. I didn't like the position it was in. And we're going to tighten that down just a little. And we use this wire to retain them. Go. Okay, safety first. Never lean over an open fire with loose hair. So I'm going to put this back. We're going to test the flame and make sure we're getting an even fire all the way around the H burner. Make sure we've assembled everything correctly. So come on in here. We're going to set our flame. Good. Now that hum you hear is the valve, so I'm going to double check that in a moment, but it looks like we're getting a nice even fire. Let's get our lower rack back in. Excellent. And we're going to put our fire bricks back in place. Alright, the fire blocks are back in. We're going to add our meat racks. And reattach the tank. Now, one thing to remember, barbecues are self-cleaning. All you have to do is set it on high and leave it for about 10-15 minutes. And all that leftover grease is going to char right off, turn into ash, and you'll be able to brush it off the grill. Other than that, you're ready for a season of cooking.